And next time you choose to confront an Imperial Inquisitor, you may want to be more respectful. I'm excusing a lot, because I recognize the trauma and loss you have suffered. But my patience isn't limitless, unlike my authority.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I am Cosmic, and today we're taking a first look at Eisenhorn Xenos, the video game adaptation of Dan Abnett's Warhammer 40k Eisenhorn series of books. The game, as the book did, follows the exploits of Gregor Eisenhorn, an Inquisitor and member of the Ordo Xenos. Now this is a preview build, so please be aware that everything that you do see here is subject to change. The game is being developed by Pixel Hero Games, and while the game is releasing on PC first, it was primarily developed for the mobile platform, which you can tell instantly and throughout the game. The game is a story-driven third-person action-adventure game that features combat and various adventure elements such as stealth sections and minor puzzle solving. Now you'll have to forgive me for my voice because I seem to be losing it at an extended rate, so if by the end of the video that you can't hear anything, I've probably collapsed into a heap. Now I, along with many other Warhammer 40k fans, have a high regard for the Eisenhorn series, and it is one of the few series that the books differ in tone and content from more traditional Warhammer 40k novels, because usually you get simply Space Marines smashing aliens and, you know, big giant men being kick-ass, and the Eisenhorn series is more of a detective story that really does broaden the scope that fans usually get to see in the 40k universe in terms of the novels and the books. Graphically, the game has been improved for the PC version with an addition of a variety of effects and improvements to textures and environments. When you think of it as a mobile game, it looks great. However, if you think of it as a story-focused PC game with a ton of cutscenes, not so much. The character animation doesn't do the job, and the environments do look in the style of Warhammer 40k, and the backdrops are fantastic. However, many of the close-up textures are a bit of a mixed bag, with some looking good and others looking like they've had Vaseline smudged all over it, including the characters. It's a mixed bag of tricks visually. I can stomach a game not looking great, however when it comes to the sound I really can't. The voice acting in Eisenhorn is god-awful. Even with actor Mark Strong voicing Eisenhorn, often the lines, which are just ripped straight from the books, are not read well. Perfect example of this is when Eisenhorn is threatening someone and the voice tone and level just do not match what is actually being said. However, Eisenhorn is by far the best voice acted for the most part, and the rest of the characters are pretty poorly done. The sound effects are okay, but sound levels are just way off, with footsteps being as loud as gunshots, yet bolters sounding really tame. It's not great, and I could possibly stomach even all this if the actual core mechanics were fun, but they're not. Let's start with combat. Combat is a rhythm-based combat system, very similar to the likes of Arkham series, except simplified to all hell and designed for mobile touchscreens, which, as you can imagine, is not that great. The animations are sloppy. It's all about rhythm timing. There is no actual skill required other than just hitting the correct button at the correct time and you'll win every single time. All you have to do is keep moving. It's not that particularly hard to avoid enemy attacks because the AI is just terrible. You can slow down time if you need, but I don't see any reason why you would, because the game is absolutely easy as all hell. There's no real depth to the combat system. There's nothing there to keep you entertained for a long period of time, and especially as combat is something you're going to be doing a lot of, you'd think that the developers would plan ahead, especially for the PC title, and think, hey, maybe we shouldn't put in a touchscreen system in for PC players who have mouse and keyboards and gamepads, who actually want tight controls, interesting gameplay, and something with a little bit of challenge. However, that isn't the case. It's a touchscreen rhythm-based battle system that's very boring, very dull, and it's pretty much one of the necessities to progress in the game. There's no real reason why you would look forward to it in any way. It's more of a grind just to get through to the next cutscene. The redeeming feature of the combat is possibly the party system, whereby as you progress in the game, you get to recruit new characters into your ship and into your little Eisenhorn squad, as I like to call it. All of these characters are in the books, and if you've read the books, you'll know exactly what the people we're talking about. And you get to actually take these people into battle with you, and they'll help you out in battle. And sometimes you can even just stand there and let them do it for you, because the AI is that dumb. It isn't just the core mechanics of the combat that's the problem. It's plagued with issues, camera issues, bugs, problems loading the next phase or wave of enemies. There's often I've been stuck waiting for enemies to spawn for 10 minutes or so because the game just decided that it didn't know what to do at that point because I'd killed the enemies too quickly because it was too easy. But yeah, I think you get the idea. The combat is nothing to write home about. There is minor progression in the game. Characters will level up and your stats will increase. You can also interswap equipment, including your swords, bolters and seals. Your swords are pretty straightforward. You'll unlock better swords, bolters with the same, and the seals are various imperial seals that affect a different statistic. There is no microtransactions in the PC version, although I'm pretty sure there probably will be in the mobile version, no doubt. There was only a couple of swords and bolters to select in the preview build. However, the full game is set to have over 100 items. While having progression and different loot items in a Warhammer 40k game is very nice to have, ultimately it is fairly pointless and it is just a chore at this point, considering how bad and boring the actual core mechanics of the combat are. Ultimately, I think the game is looking like it's going to be a massive disappointment. There are things that I like in there, like the party system. I don't think all the voice acting is terrible. The game's writing's great, but that's only because it's straight out of Dan Abnett's book. It's not like it's originally written or anything like that. They've just copied lines over. So that's got that going for it, I guess. Ultimately, it's going to be a disappointment, and I don't think it ultimately represents the Eisenhorn series of books. I think it could have been done a hell of a lot better. For starters, it shouldn't be a mobile game. For a start, that would be, a great place to, kick that one off. The combat system needs a complete redesign and rework. I have no problem with a rhythm-based system like they have in the Arkham Knight series. But again, you've got to make it so that it's actually meaningful, it's skill-based, and that, it's designed for PC. Because I don't want something that's designed for touchscreen devices, especially in a third-person, story-driven action-adventure game. I don't want that for mobile. That's a core game. You're trying to create a core game for mobile. Why? They're not core gamers. They're casuals. Why would you even consider creating a core game for mobile devices, especially a game that is so story-driven, that deserves a hell of a lot of love and attention? It deserves really good animators behind the cutscenes, really good voice work. It deserves money thrown at it to make it a really high-tech spectacle, and this is just not it. And I expected more from an Eisenhorn game, and sadly, I haven't got it. So it will be interesting to see how the game shapes up when it's finally launched, but in my opinion, it's probably not going to be much better than it is now. And that is my first impressions of Eisenhorn Xenos. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Do like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I will see you next time.